Hello, and welcome to this week's presentation of Reset Theatre Coalition's Reset Series. This alliance, initiated by Conch Shell Productions in collaboration with Brata Productions and Kumukua Theatre, presents new works by American playwrights of African, Caribbean, Native American, Latin American, Central American, Asian, European, Middle Eastern, Indian, and Polynesian descent. Together, we hope to help inspire a reset in America. My name is Sergey Burbank. I'm literary manager of Conch Shell Productions.
Hello, my name is Magali Colliman Christopher. I'm the artistic director and founder of Conch Shell Productions. At Conch Shell Productions, we develop and produce and showcase new plays written by Caribbean American writers, as well as writers from the Caribbean diaspora. Our mission is to infuse American theater and international film and theater with our unique voices.
And I'm Carl O'Brien Williams, the artistic director for Brata Productions. Brata is a Jamaican colloquial expression that means something more, and that's what we try to do at Brata Productions, where we focus on Caribbean talent, the promotion of Caribbean culture through folk art, music, drama, and our education programming.
I'm Donna Blanchard, the Managing Director of Kumukua Theatre in Honolulu, Hawaii. We produce theater by and about all of the people of Hawaii.
My name is Harry Wong III, and I am the Artistic Director of Kumukua Theatre.
Tonight's presentation will start with a benediction, as we say the names of those who have suffered grave, systematic injustice in our country. Following the benediction, we will begin the performance of new works. Pitch by Mateo Moreno, directed by Antonio Menino, featuring Sarah Marable and Mel House. Dad and Son by Sean Chu, directed by Junior Tesoro, featuring Dan Secchi and Paul Yao. Tissues for Issues by Jovan Black, directed by Damien Joel, featuring Jovan Black. And finally, The Good Cop by Kristen Eve Cato, directed by Nigel Simanj, featuring Christina Bailey and Tanya Perez. We thank you for joining us to experience the gifts of our Reset artist community. We hope at some point in the course of this event, the collective frequency of giving will touch you, and you will be inspired to give to our theaters. As you remember the power of theater to create community and communication, we hope you will say yes to contributing to our missions to give a voice to BIPOC playwrights, directors, and performers who are collectively saying yes to a reset to the consciousness of our country. Your donations will allow each of our theaters to continue our missions to provide our artists with a platform to play their essential roles at a time when we need artists to redefine the we of our nation. Thank you from us all in advance. Following the performance, we invite you to join a post-show discussion. You can send your comments and questions to the moderator via the comment section on whatever platform you're using to watch tonight's presentation. And if there are any technical delays, stick with us. It's a brave new theater world. And if the event freezes or if a play info card lasts longer than 40 seconds during the live performance, be sure to refresh our streaming page 2 to 3 times during the stream to continue your pleasurable viewing experience. Thank you for joining us.
Tony McDade, Susan Bogle, Shalee Tilson, George Helm,
Tony
Kimo
McDade,
Mitchell,
Susan Bogle,
Nicholas Thomas,
Shalee Tilson,
Malise Green,
George Helm,
Tony
Tamir
McDade,
Rice,
Kimo Mitchell,
Susan
Alton
Bogle,
Sterling,
Nicholas Thomas,
Shalee Tilson,
Malise Green,
George Helm,
Tamir Rice,
Kimo Mitchell,
Tony McDade,
Alton Sterling,
Nicholas
Susan
Thomas,
Bogle,
Malise Green,
Shelley Tilson,
Tamir Rice,
George Helm,
Alton Sterling,
Chemo
Tony
Mitchell,
McDade, Susan Bogle,
Nicholas Thomas,
Shelley Tilson,
Melise Green,
George Helm,
Tamir Rice,
Chemo Mitchell,
Alton Sterling,
Nicholas Thomas, Melise Green, Tamir Rice, Alton Sterling.
Well, hello there. Can you hear me all right?
Hello, I can hear you just fine. Sarah here from PLV Agency. It's nice to finally meet face-to-face, Miss Henderson.
Oh, please, it's Amy.
Amy then.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, I can hear you just fine.
Great. Forgive me as I'm adjusting to this whole new Zoom style meeting world.
It's totally fine. I'm fairly new to this kind of thing as well.
Yes. Okay. Well, first off, welcome to this little interview, I suppose we could call it. Will the rest of your team be joining the call or will it be just you?
Well, I planned for it to just be me and you since I would be the lead designer, should you go with us.
Uh-huh.
But if you'd rather reschedule with the whole team, we can definitely make that happen as well.
Oh, no. Don't put yourself out. If it's going to be just you and me today, that's fine. Just fine.
Okay then.
Okay, so I am looking at your resume here, and while I do, why don't you talk?
You want me to talk?
Small talk while I read. Go on.
Sure. Well, I guess I can start off by saying how excited we are here at PLV with your upcoming production of Eye of the Storm. All of us here at the agency absolutely love the piece. It's poignant, funny, heartbreaking.
Blah, blah, blah. I wanted you to make small talk, not blow smoke up my ass.
I wasn't. We really do think highly of the piece. I do especially.
You do?
It's one of the best plays I've read in years.
You don't look black.
I'm sorry.
Black. Your skin doesn't quite look black.
What?
Is it your lighting? Maybe it's your lighting. Hang on a second. Jose! Can you adjust her lighting? She looks white. No, white. White. Blanca? You know what? Don't worry about it. Never mind. It's okay. Sorry about that. He takes a long time when I ask him to do anything, and you get what you pay for, I suppose. And who else are you going to get to come in during COVID? Oh, actually, you look a bit better. Did you fix it?
I don't see the relevance of that.
Everything is relevant, Sarah.
I'm of mixed race. My father is Black and my mother is from Spain.
Well, there you go. That probably explains it. I'm glad I asked. Okay, so you majored in design, correct? You went
Yes.
to Cornell University?
Yes, that's correct. Majored in design. I'm sorry. Are you looking at my personal resume?
That's primarily a black school, right?
A black school.
Cornell, a black school, right?
If we could just. Why are you looking at my personal resume? You're possibly hiring the agency, not just me.
Well, Sarah, I like to know who I'm going to work with. Besides, Jose printed this for me, and I want to make sure he feels like he knows that I care. Gracias, Jose. Jose, can you hear me? He's waving. Oh, God, he doesn't understand anything.
Are you looking at the resumes of everyone on my team?
Just yours.
Just mine?
That's right.
And why just mine?
Why not? I have to say, Sarah, I really like your company. The mock images that you sent over were stunning.
Well, thank you, Miss Amy. I'm so glad you like our work.
It's very ethnic.
Ethnic.
Yeah, it's got a flavor to it, a spice. It's very cool. And I have to say, we are going out on a limb for this one. We're taking a chance.
Well, I'm glad you are.
You are.
Absolutely. If I may speak freely.
Oh, I would love it.
The world doesn't need any more living room dramas filled with white people that we can't relate to. I think audiences want to see people that look more like them. And although there is an assumption out there, I think that the POC community would.
POC?
People of color. I think the assumption is that theater is mostly for white people, but it's not true. Younger POC audiences, they want to go to the theater and they want to see their stories on stage. This play does just that. Eye of the Storm is just what I've been waiting for. It's bold and it's fresh and it's just the jolt that Broadway needs.
Noted. You don't think it's too black though, do you?
Too
black? I mean, my partners love the script, but I don't get it. Every character just seems a bit
what?
Scary, maybe.
Because they're too black.
Oh, no. I mean, not just that. Maybe it's the way that they talk. It doesn't feel like Broadway. We have a white director. He's great, very well known, very connected. And the playwright is new, fresh, hip, Caribbean or Asian, I think. He's from an island. I know that. Maybe if we change the street talk, it'll also attract a paying audience. What do you think?
Well, who's the paying audience?
Well, between you and me, it's the white audience, isn't it? I mean, rush tickets weren't created for people with 401ks, were they?
People of color are also a paying person coming, Amy.
Oh yeah, but you know, the price range needs to be a bit lower, don't you think?
You know what, Amy? I've held my tongue for long enough. I thought maybe that's not what she means. Maybe she's phrasing it in a weird way. And I know we're trying to get your business, but maybe we don't need it. Maybe we don't want to just suck it up and take it from problematic white producers like you anymore. Maybe it's about time we actually spoke up and called you on your bullshit.
Okay, hang on a second.
You know why I think you only have my resume? Because the rest of my team is white. And you heard you be talking to me, a black woman. So you pulled my resume to see if I was up to snuff.
I couldn't even see your complexion through the screen. I mean, maybe it was your lighting. Besides, didn't you just say you were of mixed race?
That doesn't take away my blackness. God, it's people like you who make the world how it is today. You have sat in your ivory towers for so long, looking down at us, worried that your bright white world is crumbling around you, kicking us down every chance you get. But we are just as important and talented as you. And this bullshit has gone on for far too long.
Hang on a second. I don't know why you're getting so upset at me. I am an ally of the Black people. I'm with you. My assistant has been tweeting out supportive things all week, and I think that your voice is an important one.
Well, you have a funny way of showing it.
Sarah, with all due respect, I am not the enemy here.
Well, with all due respect, Amy, you've just spewed out some pretty upsetting shit in the last few minutes.
Okay, I get that. But Sarah, I'm wanting to be candid here. I want to feel like this is a safe space for me to express myself.
What?
I am sorry if you are upset by what I said. We as artists need to be able to express ourselves, don't you think? To get all those ugly truths out there. For instance, how do you feel about the world right now? Are you a Trump supporter?
Do I look like Ben Carson to you?
And the riots. You have to have a lot of anger about that.
Protests, Amy, they are protests.
Protests then.
Yeah, words are important.
See, you're teaching me already.
That's not my job to do, Amy.
But Sarah, I want to learn. I want to know the pain and the anger that you feel. I bet you want to scream every single day, don't you?
Yeah, I want to scream.
You want to get angry.
Yeah, I want to get angry because I am angry.
See, doesn't that feel better to be the angry Black woman that the world expects you to be?
Excuse me.
You're hired.
What?
You are exactly what I need. You are exactly what this play needs. You're raw, you're angry, you're real. How many Black men and women were shot this year alone by cops? How many Black trans teens have gone missing? How many times have white people clutched their purses when you or your friends walked by, or were scared that you were wearing a mask, even though they were wearing one too? I think that an authentic voice like yours is exactly what we need. We need a fresh voice. We need you.
Did you not just hear anything I just said to you?
I did, Sarah. I did. And I like you. The art that you sent over, it feels so real. It has your culture screaming out of every inch.
I don't know what to say.
Say yes, Sarah. Help me tell this story. This would be a huge step for your advertising agency, would probably move you into the big time. We can help push you there straight to the top. You know that your bosses want our business, but if we're being honest here, I think we both know that they didn't expect you to land this. That's why you're on the call without a team. They aren't here because they think that there's no way in hell that you're gonna close this deal. Maybe this is even their way of pushing you out. So Sarah, don't let that happen. Take a breath and close the deal.
Okay.
Great. I will have my assistant send over all the details, and I am relying on you to let me know what feels authentic. And I trust that you'll tell me if I push too hard or say the wrong thing.
So that's my job, to keep the show authentic.
Well, sounds kind of bad when I hear it back, but yes, I want the pushback. I mean, I'm up in my ivory tower here, right? So sometimes I'm gonna need to be brought back down to the ground, but I love it. I feel more enlightened already. Of course, there are some things that won't be negotiable, but we will figure those out as we go. How does that sound, Sarah?
Sounds okay. Thank you, Amy.
You are welcome. Oh, actually, if you wouldn't mind calling me Miss Amy.
Miss Amy.
Miss Amy is what all of my staff call me. I think it's kind of cute.
I don't know if I want to.
We will talk about it. Great, Sarah. I am excited, and I hope that you are too.
Well, what I can say is that I know we here at PLV Agency will do an amazing.
Yes, let's not repeat ourselves. You've already got the job. I'll talk to you soon.
Why are you using that?
It's reusable.
You're not using the paper towels we gave you?
I use them to wipe my countertop, not my mouth.
You know, we're just trying for help.
I know, Dad.
Your mom, I told her, son don't use paper towel. We don't need buy these. But you know, listen, what can you do?
Have you heard from Dr. Mason? Did she say anything to you?
Dr. Mason is very busy. She left me a message.
And?
I never check them.
Dad, check the message.
I eating dinner.
What the fuck?
Hey, don't use that kind of language.
I'm 23. I'm not a kid.
For all intents and purposes, you still a kid. And your father still placed a lot of value on proper language and manners.
Could you please check Dr. Mason's message?
Of course, son.
Hey Larry, got your message. Things have been somewhat crazy. Even without that many patients, people are anxious. I checked on Zoe. She's on a ventilator right now. Listen, I have to go, but tell your son to give me a call. I don't mind. Take care.
I'm gonna call her.
Wait, please.
What?
We haven't talked.
We never talk. So what?
Don't bother the doctor. She's busy.
I want to know if Zoe's okay.
If she didn't go to that party, she would be okay.
What was I supposed to do? Chain her to our fridge?
Your mom and I always make our decisions together.
Zoe and I do the same, Dad.
You know, call me old-fashioned, but
Outdated.
Sometimes I tell your mom no. I tell her, listen for her own good.
I don't want to hear a patriarchal story, Dad.
You know, when she was turning 40, your mom got in a panic. She was complaining about how I never let her buy any cosmetics like the other ladies in the temple did. I told her, you don't need makeup. You're beautiful without it. Yeah. And then we made love. Make her feel more beautiful.
Dad, what is this? Why are you... I don't want to hear about you and Mom doing...
You gotta take care of your wife. She your one and only.
Yes, Dad, I know. There's no return policy on my wife.
Hey, I'm serious. She shouldn't have been at that party.
I wish that were the case, but I can't turn back time. I can't fix this. All I can do is wait and hope for the best. Try not to freak the fuck out. Remember to feed the cats and show up to work half decent.
Don't forget to eat. You're getting skinny. Haven't let your mom out of the house. She nuts. Too much Korean drama, giving her wild ideas. We're using that app for that delivery service you told us about.
Good.
So, what was the party for? The one that Zoe went to?
It was her best friend's birthday, Sarah.
Who was sick?
They think it was one of Sarah's cousins.
She should go jail.
Maybe.
Maybe? What you mean, maybe? Should put her in jail. Should put Ige in jail, too. He talk like one girl. I don't believe anything he say.
The governor is the reason why a lot of us aren't sick, Dad. We were one of the first places to issue stay-at-home orders and stuff.
Hey, why are you defending him? He's one politician, one crook.
Not all politicians are crooks, Dad.
Oh, no, I get it. You choose the Uchinanchu who get the power over this Uchinanchu who no more any power.
Dad, stop. We're supposed to just be talking.
We are talking. Ha. You complain about talking, but you're not talking. You texting. Who you texting?
Your wife?
Why? Why are you dragging your mom into this?
It's my trump card.
Trump. Hey, what I said about foul language, we don't say that name in my house. Miriam, stay out of this. We're having a father-son time.
Won't interfere with my marriage, and I won't interfere with yours.
Fun it. You know, she's gonna be nagging me for weeks now. Boy, you won't get it.
Oh, lickings.
Ah, no. Your punishment, I'm gonna just give you Asian disappointment. Your mom ain't put you up to this, huh? I was wondering why you weren't called. I mean, the Zoe thing, yeah, but usually talk to your mom, not me, about that kind of things. I know we had rough times, Blaze. And thanks for calling. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that you're sharing your time with me.
What kind of Asian son would I be if I never do something for you now and then? Happy birthday, Dad. Kanpai.
Kanpai.
I'm sorry, what was that? Oh, you're wondering what I'm doing with the box of tissues? Well, to be honest, I never really go anywhere these days without my box of tissues because I just never seem to know when I may need to pull some tissue out to wipe some tears. Why would I need to wipe my tears? Are you serious? Are you not seeing what's been happening lately now more than ever? It's been all over the news, all over social media. Well, let me break it down for you so you have a clear understanding as to why these tissues are necessary. There are issues. For years and decades, we have been oppressed. We were taken away from our homes, we were taken away from our families against our will. All we ever wanted to do was to be happy and be free and live the life we were given to live by the Almighty. But instead, deprivation was what we got. We were deprived of anything that ever seemed to be too good for us. We were deprived of having our own thoughts. We were deprived of having laughter, because the truth is, the man without color, he doesn't see color. He doesn't see us as anything. He doesn't see us as people. But the culture that we have created for ourselves is continuously being taken away from us and being turned into their own, while they whip us 100 lashes or more and leave us hanging by a noose from poplar trees with our blood dripping down on the leaves to the roots. Strange fruits, Otis bird. And in addition to that, we were forced to give the South a very distinctive smell. The smell of our burning flesh being spread through the air, hitting the faces of those in close proximity, like face powder being applied by a beautician. And that ain't funny, especially not for my trans brother, Tony McDade. There are issues, because almost 500 years later and nothing has changed. The only thing that has changed is the moment in time, but it's still the same shit, just a different fucking day. Because we're still being murdered every day. Not because of us doing wrong, not because of us being bad people, because we're not. Not because of anything that we could ever possibly control, but because of some shit that we have absolutely no control over, the color of our skin. Same colored folks killing colorless folks. No reason to do it. They just do it because they feel like it. So yes, there are issues. Because as citizens, we have to be living in fear that our lives will be bluntly taken away from us. You walk outside and you don't know if you will even have the opportunity to walk back inside, because there are cops lurking in the midst of broad daylight, waiting to assault you, beat you up, keep you in a headlock, a chokehold, have you yell and scream, "I can't breathe!" But he just keeps you there still, choking the living shit out of you until there is no more breath left. Let us not forget Eric Garner. There are issues because for years we are being targeted, we're being tormented by the people who are supposed to be protecting us. They kill us, we plead, we've begged, and still no one answers our cry. But this time, with the strength of Trayvon Martin and George Floyd, and the vigor of Breonna Taylor Elijah McClain, and all the others brutally murdered, sent down upon us, we will riot. And just like our great ancestors did with the fire, so will we, because we are tired. We are tired of feeling like we are nobodies. We are tired of being shunned and shut down and out. We are tired of being goddamn tired of chasing the fucking American dream, because to us, Black people, it's all just a nightmare. So yes, I've got these tissues for issue.
Miss Nita Jones. I'm sorry I missed your call yesterday. I got backed up with paperwork, still doing it.
Well, that's no surprise.
What do you mean?
I know you've been dodging me, Jade, and I get it. I know officers like you hate people like us, nosy, digging for the truth.
All right. You know, I literally don't have time for semantics, so just get to the point.
Did you get my document?
Which one?
I know you received it. I tracked it. It was signed and delivered.
You mean this? Yeah, okay, I got your freaking document, and as you can see, I have a huge amount of paperwork on my desk, so I haven't gotten to your document yet.
You know what this is about.
What do you want from me, Anita? Why me? You've been bugging me for months. Following me, writing about me in your blog. Like, come on, girl. I don't need this heat right now.
I'm sorry if you think I'm targeting you in my blogs. It's just all these recent cases just seem to revolve around you.
I'm just saying, we've been friends since childhood, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to take you down for harassment or any other bullshit I can find on your crazy ass.
I'm just gonna cut to the chase like you asked. This litigation suit I'm organizing has a really good fighting chance, and you need to be involved.
A fighting chance.
What the NYPD is making you do is illegal, and we can file a lawsuit if we get enough people to sign our petition.
How many times do I have to tell you this? No.
But
and let me stop you before you start talking about some unconstitutional bullshit, okay? It don't fucking matter.
What about Anthony Rodriguez?
Wrong place at the wrong time.
Or Carlos Perez? Or Antoine Jackson? Or Rashid Banks?
Unfortunate mistakes.
I know you're not okay with this, Jade. Those were kids you knew.
Yeah, I knew them since they were babies.
I can't imagine the conflict you go through when you have to arrest these kids for petty shit like disorderly conduct.
With all due respect, you need to shut the fuck up. You don't know nothing about my job or what it actually entails. I'm looking through the paperwork, okay? I see the bullshit, okay? You think you can just call me up and tell me what's going on?
But every time you are silent, you are complicit to these injustices.
What the hell am I supposed to do? I am just one officer, Anita. One brown female officer patrolling the South Bronx. You want me to start a vigilante group or something? I already have enough paperwork as it is. Don't you see all the paperwork that I'm doing?
Well, you gotta do something, Jade. Your department got you out here criminalizing kids and detaining them by the dozen just to fulfill some nightly quota. A fucking quota, Jade? That is illegal and unjust. You know, I remember in middle school, you used to want to be a hero, but this ain't that. This is...
This isn't a comic book, Anita. I'm not a superhero. You're not a star reporter. This is real life, where most heroes are villains and most villains are the byproducts of their societies.
You're right. This is deeper than any fucking comic book.
And you know what? I used to think you were delusional. You know, in 7th grade, instead of playing tag at recess, you would sit in the cafeteria and talk to the kids whose fathers were in jail, like it was freaking group therapy.
Yeah, I remember your daddy being in jail too, just like mine. But you were too proud to sit with us, huh?
You know, you would just tell them that it wasn't their daddy's fault when you know damn well that those motherfuckers were selling dope on the corner or right there in their fucking hallways.
Those Black and Latino kids were byproducts of their society, just to quote you.
Yeah? Well, they still fucked up. So what's your point, Anita?
Listen, all I'm saying is that I've gathered together a few good officers all around New York City.
Good officers? As opposed to what exactly?
As opposed to staying shut. Anyway, they've all agreed to come forward and file a lawsuit against the NYPD. This is big.
You really want to show up missing tomorrow, don't you?
I mean, I literally have hours of secretly recorded audio of their superior officers forcing them to target Black and Latino men in poor neighborhoods.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's...
I think we would make noise if we had one more officer on board. If I could be frank, we'd really like to have a female officer on board.
And it just has to be me.
Preferably.
How many officers do you have?
11.
And you need me to be number 12. Have you ever stopped to think about what would happen to me if I became one of your whistleblowers? Do you know what these white cops would do to me? And forget about me losing my job and getting blacklisted. I would be considered a snitch, Anita, a traitor. And you know what happens to traitors, don't you? Now I want you to imagine what that looks like when motherfuckers got the law on their side. You're asking me for a fucking death sentence, Anita.
We can keep it confidential.
This bitch says confidential.
You don't think I've considered this already? You think I'm fucking stupid? No one has to know it's you. Your identity will be protected until we go to trial, of course. And then in trial, they'll know.
No, Anita. The only way I can protect myself is by being shut and doing my job. And don't get it twisted, okay? I patrol my hood. When kids are just hanging out outside, I tell them to go home and let them know that the cops are doing their TNT sweeps. You know, sometimes I let dudes jump the train because I know they're broke and they can't go to, and they got to go to work. I actually save women who've been domestically abused. I look out for my people, okay? Everything else is street law. Don't act stupid and don't get into trouble is what I say.
One day, that's not going to be enough for all the innocent lives that are taken by the hands of your comrades. Can I share something personal with you?
Shoot.
Sometimes I get into these rabbit hole thoughts and I think about that summer back in '97.
Oh, please don't.
It was the day after the 4th of July, and a few of us were on the rooftop lighting up some leftover fireworks. You were there, your mom, your sister. It was like all of the families from the building were on the rooftop that night. We had our beach chairs out. Some people had their dining room chairs. And the cops were looking for someone in our building, apparently. But we know that was bullshit.
And Doña Carmen comes running up and slams the roof door open.
They killed Frankie! They killed Frankie!
Mataron a mi hijo.
There she was in her nightgown, soaked in blood. And all the kids started screaming and crying, and all the big dudes from the neighborhood ran down the stairs and found Frankie and Bobby's bodies. They were just kids, you know, like 17 or 18. I don't remember how old they were. They were just kids. We were all just kids. And no one ever found out what happened. Bobby was barely alive when they found him. And all he could say was,
"The police." Why do you think about that night? I try to forget about that night.
because that was the night I felt rage for the first time, real rage.
Yeah, I can understand that.
It was like a heat flash hit me and ran through my body, making all the hair stand up and shaking every bit of foundation I had left in my body. It was the rage of injustice, of being ignored, of seeing innocent people die and mothers like Doña Carmen never knowing the truth about what happened to their loved ones.
Frankie and Bobby were good kids. I remember they were spitting rhymes in the hallway. Frankie was a good beatboxer.
You saw?
They weren't doing anything bad. I remember I had gone back to my apartment because my mom wanted me to bring up more soda, and I heard gunshots, but I didn't think they were gunshots. I thought they were fireworks, and I just...
You never said anything?
I couldn't. I was scared.
Well, here's your chance for redemption.
Oh, just. I don't know if I can do this, Anita. I'm not your number 12. Maybe I can find somebody else who's
No,
willing to do
Jade.
this.
No, Jade, it has to be you.
Why do I feel the unmistakable feeling that you're right about this?
Because I was valedictorian twice in my life.
All right, let me get back to this damn paperwork. It was actually good to finally get to talk to you again. I'm glad you're out here fighting the good fight.
I mean, I remember we used to be friends.
Yeah, me too.
Listen, I know this is a hard decision, but just know that the world has ended so many times before, over and over again. You know what I mean?
I hear you. But this feels like an apocalypse zone.
No. It's a revolution, an evolution. We got to be brave in order to make change.
I'll talk to you soon.
Welcome back, everyone. I want to thank you for staying with us for another Reset Talk Back with all our artists, including our awesome technical team, Kira and Faith and Santos, headed by the wonderful Veronica. I'm Carl Brian Williams, one of the producers. And right now, I just want to take some time to acknowledge the work that has been done here. And if you like what you see here and you've been with us these last 2 Fridays, and you're here with us this 3rd Friday, please donate, spread the word, donate to Conch Shell Productions, donate to Kumukahua Theater, donate to Brata Productions. No number is too small. I know you get these donation things all the time, and sometimes the default is like $75, $100. We can start at $2. If you got $2, we'll take it. We're not saying no to any funding. So please drop those coins. We accept them all right? And yeah, so let's begin with this talk back. I think we want to just begin with our playwrights and our director combo. And you know, this is a tough time for everyone for a number of reasons. We had a variety of work here today. So I just want to invite you to speak to how the protests, the rhetoric coming from the protests, and the general climate around injustice, police brutality, coupled with the very serious threat of COVID-19, and how that impacted your process for the playwrights, your writing, and for the directors. How much did you allow what was going on now to like feed your energies? I'm gonna go based on the squares around me, and therefore the first one I see is Antonio.
Hi. Why am I the first square?
I don't know. That's how it's set up.
Hi, everyone. I'll introduce myself. My name is Antonio Menino. I directed Pitch. My pronoun is my name and they, them. I am zooming from the island of Manahata, the original land of the Lenape people, and I was born and raised in the island of Haiti, Quisqueya, the original land of the Taino people. So we definitely held space for everything that's going on around us. It influenced the piece a lot. And as you see with Pitch, we're dealing with an oppressor, Amy, for lack of a better word. And I feel that the protest and what the play is dealing with is that bubbling that a lot of us have had that haven't necessarily been activist or vocal, and the opportunity to, you know, take off the mask, put it all out there and start holding people accountable. So for me, that's what influenced us the most. I think that there are many movements happening at the same time. Theater is up for a reckoning, and a lot of us that have been in any way enabling or complicit with certain type of behaviors, like the character of Amy, it's time to hold people accountable. And that's why I love this piece, even though it is a tragedy, because we do see Sarah take the job. So my fantasy is that the next day she doesn't. That's my fantasy. But the reality we are left with is that sometimes we are complicit, and it's a call for everyone to step forward and hold people accountable, because just like there's that Amy, there's another wonderful producer out there that is an ally that will see you in an equitable way and will not be oppressing you, colonizing you, all those things that we've dealt with. So this is my call for everyone out there to speak up.
Thank you so much, Antonio. Right before we go to Mateo, we had a wonderful comment from one of our viewers who is a fellow director and also is an intimacy coordinator. And this person is asking us to do something all together, right? And I'm just going to read what's said here. And they're saying, clap, if you're willing to clap for yourself, snap your fingers near your ears, just so to disconnect from the incredibly hard journey you just went through. All right, so pretty heavy stuff. So I think we should indulge this practice. We're all theater makers. We know how it goes with the group. And if we were in person, we'd be in a circle. But right now we're in these squares. So let's just, let's put up our fingers, clap for yourself, snap your fingers near your ear. All right, yes. And of course, we can take a collective breath. And after 1, 2, 3, inhale. Exhale. And Mateo, we want to stay with the pitch crew. Just give us your thoughts on creating this piece.
You have to unmute, Mateo.
I thought I was unmuted, sorry. First technical gaffe of the Q&A. You're welcome. The piece is really close to me. You know, as a writer, sometimes things flow out of you, sometimes things don't. And when the idea came, it just came. And I have been on both sides of the table. I've been lucky enough to be on the stage, but I've also been in the advertising side. I've been on the watching producer side. And a lot of my experience, although Pitch is not a true story by any means, it is a true story. I have seen these conversations. I have seen fellow artists of color making these compromises and breaking their own hearts while they do it. I've seen people think that they're, as Amy says, an ally of the Black people or an ally of the Latino people, and could not be anything farther apart. And it is something that is heartbreaking and has been happening over and over. And I know, speaking for myself, the minute you say, you know what, I've witnessed this, I'm never going to let this happen, I'm never going to do it, you find yourself in that same situation. And there's no judgment on anyone, any person of color who has had to make that decision, whether you take the job, whether you don't, whichever side of the coin you go on. But like Antonio said, it is hopefully a call to arms in the theater world and in film, that we are just as good, that our ideas are just as strong, and we need to be heard, we need to be seen, we need to be behind the screen, behind the table, and on the screen and on the stage, just as much as every other kitchen, living room, white drama that we see season after season after season on Broadway.
Thank you so much, Mateo.
I don't want to pipe in. I want to pipe in because it's amazing to me how often people think, oh, that was an isolated situation. But really, that doesn't really happen, does it? And I'm going to be bravely and just put my hand up here and say, that happened to me. If anybody else wants to join me on this screen and put your hand up and say, this has happened to me. The reality is happening all the time. And we quietly tolerate it.
So I think we should probably just stay with Pitch since we're in the vein and the energy is along this line, right? So I think, we were gonna just do directors, playwrights, but I feel like we still got some more to say, and I want to hear from the people who acted and did so well, because it's so right.
Yes.
So please, Sarah, Mel.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Oh, am I muted? Not muted.
Not
Hi, everyone.
muted.
I am Sarah Marable. I played Sarah in Pitch. This process has really been a journey for me because right now, going on in the world, we have COVID and we have all these social injustices that are being put right in front of us because we are home. So that's all we have to look at. Partnered with the protests, and playing this character, I could really relate to a lot because I am a Black woman, but I am also German and Native American. And when I do my 23andMe, I'll probably have tons of other things that I am. But when you see me, you might not characterize me or be like, oh, that's a Black girl, but I am Black, and I've had friends and just people not say it in a bad way. They don't know that they're doing anything wrong. Oh, you're not really Black, Sarah. but I am. I am a Black woman. And what was really challenging as I was in rehearsal is that this is also real, because all the things that Mateo had written in this play is what's going on right now. And sometimes when we're in it, you're like, oh, the protests are happening. George Floyd is on TV with the racist policeman. You see it, and you look, but you don't want to look, but you want to look because it's so real. So when I was preparing for this, I had to really dig deep into all of those transgressions, because to go deep within myself, because it is real, and feeling all those emotions was a lot. And so that was the challenging point, because in rehearsals, I would go there, but sometimes I didn't really, that day, I just didn't want to go there. So I have to go there and really take in everything that's going on. And that was the most challenging part for me, to really go there.
Yep, Mel.
And everybody tonight took the challenge, and everybody went there. And I'm still on the inside screaming, oh, what? Thank you, everyone, for taking the leap. Thank you so much.
My name is Mel House. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm up in the Bronx, the traditional land of the Lenape people. I played Amy in Pitch, and I'd say the challenge for me was to try not to play a caricature of this person in order to distance myself from it, because that actually feels safer to do. And so it asked me to keep looking at how I could connect to her, how I could understand her, ways that I'm complicit, times when I have been so ambitious for what I want that other people's humanity becomes secondary. And it was especially hard in the beginning of rehearsal, because Sarah's so open, so I could just see things landing on her, and I wanted to and what was it to shrink the awareness of what I was doing to her, and then to keep doing that for every rehearsal was pretty uncomfortable. However, I think it's a really important story, because I've been in a lot of spaces and just seen people abuse power and be unaware of the way that they're disregarding everyone's humanity around them. And I really love how Antonio runs rehearsals, because he does it with so much care, so much thought. He really frames things in a beautiful way and takes care of us. So he's such a beautiful model of that. I really appreciate it. And I really appreciate your courage, Mateo, in writing this and putting it out there, and Kira for leading us as stage manager extraordinaire. It's been quite a privilege for me to get to participate. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all so much for that. And I want to now look at a relationship, the father-son relationship that was in Dad and Son. And, how it was centered in all of this, the pandemic, the protests. So we have our playwright, right? So please speak to that for me. Do we have our director as well? I think Sean is here. Yep, thank you, Sean.
Hi, I'm Sean. Thanks for having me. I live in Hawaii. Luckily I got off work a little early so I could join all y'all, and I look forward to watching everything later. But I work at Honolulu Theater for Youth, and we've since transitioned to going on film, and I'm also part of the Shakespeare Festival, local Shakespeare Festival. We're trying to manage things on Zoom, so and seeing things online that are people are trying to transition to this format, it made me think maybe I should just write something that's intentionally set on this weird platform and see what happens. And for the piece being right now and how everything is affecting me, I guess, I've just really thought about what does it mean for me? And this isn't going to this piece so much, but another piece, but other things I'm writing, but what does privilege mean here in Hawaii? That's been a big question of mine. What does it mean for me or other people who are more Asian, as opposed to people that are Native Hawaiian, that I'm part Hawaiian, or like other people who are new to the islands, that are coming from all parts of Pacifica. And what does that mean when we're relating to each other? And how does it work out well, and how does it fracture? And I'm only learning about these things right now, you know, like I just finished If Beale Street Could Talk, crying, oh my goodness. And just learning and like, you know, drinking up Baldwin's words and learning more about what's happening in the continent, and being someone who needs to listen, but also someone who I feel very strongly who needs to like speak out more. You know, I think there needs to be more local people that, not needs to be, but it would be nice, like this project right now, more people telling their stories that are not as heard so much. And so for my piece, like the way I expressed it was just, well, I feel a little nervous about father and son relationships, or hesitant, and just explored all those feelings that I just described through the piece. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'd love to hear from the dad and son, Paul and Dan, just in terms of your interpretation of the roles at this particular time. What did this piece mean to you?
I guess I'll go first.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just shared with Paul, who played the son. My dad passed away at a very young age. He passed away at 67. So, you know, half my life, you know, he wasn't there. And so, you know, I think part of the journey in any relationship is trying to find yourself, and I guess trying to mirror the other person, and trying to understand where they're coming from, their point of view. As far as relationships to what's going on in the world right now, I'm at an age where, growing up in Hawaii, I would have to say that I'm in the other side. Yeah, I'm one of the privileged few, mainly because, you know, we were kind of the majority at some point, the Asians. And so trying to grasp and understand the anger and the hurt, and the frustration of a lot of the folks around me has been, I think, a journey as well for me. Because I started with a position of privilege, and I didn't experience a lot of those things. I didn't, you know, perhaps pay attention to a lot of those things. So I think now, as things are coming more up, and looking at a lot of these pieces, and looking at the words that a lot of the writers are sharing, I can begin to understand, and to change, and to become a better person, if you want to put it that way. Not that I thought that I was a bad person to begin with, but I think a lot of the stuff that's going on now, we, you know, for some of us, it may be a little hard to understand, because we were not in that position, you know. Being an Asian in Hawaii, when I was growing up, you know, we were the majority, and so, you know, there really wasn't any situation where we were feeling put down in any way. And to be honest, I spent 4 years in Kentucky with the Army, and we went there with a little trepidation, because, you know, people had said, well, you know, and but we met wonderful people there. I mean, we never again felt in any position that we were being put down in any way. We were treated nicely by a lot of the folks that we came into contact with. So, you know, I think for me, if there was a challenge, this piece was, I think, realistic enough that it wasn't that much of a challenge from that standpoint. But I think the challenge is really trying to understand the frustration and the anger that a lot of the other groups are going through right now, and pieces like this and the other pieces that we watched today, I think bring that in front of us so that we can look at it and learn from that.
Thank you so much for acknowledging that, Dan. Paul?
Okay, so I think this piece is the important thing about the father and son thing. It kind of shows that everybody in the world maybe mostly wants the same thing. It's maybe they can't talk to each other, they can't listen to each other, they can't hear, they can't step outside themselves. They just have their own paradigm, I think. Like the father's, says one thing, the son says, yeah, well, that's what I wanted to do, or that's how I feel also. Why can't he, that's what we both want? And in a way, I think this whole COVID thing, it's kind of maybe forced us to be separate, but also like I find myself, I guess, texting people more that I haven't talked to for a while and trying to connect with them, trying to reach out and reconnect. And I think that's kind of what is the major issue, I think, with the disconnect with everybody. We're experiencing this and you guys experience that, and it's hard to see that we're kind of all in this together. Whether it's a family problem or a cultural issue. I was actually born in the Bronx, and I lived there I lived on the East Coast for first part of my life till I was about 8 years old, and I looking back on it now, I think that I did experience racism, but I didn't feel it. I guess I didn't understand it. We would drive down from New York to go to Disney World or something like that. And as soon as we passed a certain state line, I don't know if it was like Alabama or Tennessee or something, if we wanted to stay the night at a motel, my mom, who is Italian, could go and rent the room. But if she went in with my father, who was Chinese, or went in with the family, no vacancies. Keep on driving. And I was a child. I didn't realize that. I guess when I wasn't picked on the kickball team, I kind of figured, I'm a little diminutive. I'm part Asian. Maybe I'm not big enough or strong enough. Maybe I was generally picked pretty last, or among the last people, I don't know. I guess I could get angry about that. But I guess I was fortunate, like Dan was saying, that I did move to Hawaii, and I did get to experience Asian privilege. Is that I don't know if that's appropriate to call it that, or just a sense of privilege that there's more people around me that kind of have the same cultural expectation. Take off your shoes when you're in the house, or don't do this or don't do that, and it's not like you have to explain yourself and, oh, this is why I do this, or this is why. It's just kind of everybody is in that kind of, I guess, privileged world that they expect you to fall in line with the, whatever the expectations are. I personally, I don't feel resentful. I feel it's informative. I did know people on the mainland that did not exhibit, like I had friends that were very friendly with me, but then I had people also, not so friendly. And maybe even here in Hawaii, I remember getting into some fight, I think, because either I was Hapa or maybe I was part Chinese, and maybe some couple groups of maybe pure Asian people would kind of really lay into me and want and start fights and stuff like that. And I I'm not a very, I want to fight you type of thing, but I'll defend myself. So this is a very difficult time, and I think it's good that we're doing this and starting that dialogue and and continuing that. And like I said, I think as much as we're separated, I think we're all in this together, and that kind of gives us a common space and a common way to communicate and hope for the best.
True. So true, Paul. It is something. If nothing else, we are all going to be leaving out of this more aware of each other. And if we're not, then we haven't learned anything. And I just want to hear from the team. So thank you. And I'd love to hear from the team now for Tissues for Issues. So we have a playwright who's also a performer, Javon Black, and our director, Damien Joel. So I think maybe we'll start with Damien and then we'll go with Javon, since Javon, you're wearing double hats. And so you can speak to the moment, the movement, and how that impacts your work, or just any other thoughts you want to share on this piece when you first read it and to what it is right now.
Thank you so much, everyone, for creating this opportunity and this space to tell this very relevant story. Unfortunately, I wish it was history that we were tapping into, but this is the current reality. And so I met the work with a very visceral reaction, because it is my current lived experience, and I'm sure it is Javon's current lived experience as well. With that said, I tried to find a way to create a more nuanced approach to telling the story. And so the idea behind it was to both approach it from the standpoint of speaking to somebody who is just very apathetic, which is so commonplace, but also creating space for Justin to vent, because venting is a part of the healing process. So I wanted to play with that duality with approaching the work, where, you know, you'd see what would feel like the kind of violence of silence, the violence of apathy, the violence of just completely being indifferent and clueless and ignorant, and to see what that does to a young man who is not, who has somehow had to prove himself and prove his humanity by virtue of, you know, being a graduate of Cornell University. I mean, these details weren't expressed explicitly in the piece, but it was a part of the work that I did with Javon to bring Justin to life, you know, to really have him create a resume of someone who has a black young man who has lived a life surrounded by white friends, completely disengaged with the realities of what the wider Black plight looks and feels like. And then now, in the onset of you know, one of the largest unrests within this country's history, to have to grapple with that realization at the same time, realizing that those with whom he you know, developed strong bonds with have been so complicit. And here it is that he's going to this interview and realizing that there is really just a kind of tone deafness to the fact that we are always in a state of grief. So I'm saying this now, and I'm trying really hard to keep it together because of the fact that it was a very personal piece for both of us. And I remember expressing to Javon to ride the emotions out, whatever he feels. It's important for him to do it not for the sake of performing, but for the sake of healing, because that's what the arts should be about. So I implored him to use it as a space to heal, to be angry, to be annoyed, to be sad. And these are all stages of what we go through in just the daily grief of seeing our brothers and sisters being murdered. And then there's just this general apathy that, I mean, there's one thing to be suddenly aware of it, but the reality is for us that we've always been aware of it, because this is and has always been our lived experience. I'm so sorry I didn't introduce myself formally. I just jumped right in. But the name is Damien Joel. I go by the pronouns he, him, his. And as you can hear by my accent, I am originally an Afro-Caribbean by way of Jamaica. And I moved here in 2014 as a refugee to seek a space where I could finally be my full self without persecution. Unfortunately, as the piece said, the American dream is nothing but a nightmare. And so there's a kind of duality where that's concerned for me, because of the fact that not only am I currently in the midst of a pandemic, but I'm also now realizing that I've moved into a space where I'm further persecuted and there's hardly any safe space. But perhaps this space here has provided some safety for us. And so we're just grateful for the opportunity to tell that story. And as hopeless as it seems, especially for me right now, I trust and hope that it touched you, struck a nerve, caused you to pause and to really understand that the kind of silence and just ignorance to the fact that we're always in this constant state of grief. And so we do walk with a lot daily, plus we're expected to be and do so much more, that you will continue to hold space for that and be ever aware of that. So yeah, thank you.
Thank
And I
you.
really like the
Thank
point
you.
that you made, Damien, about the healing, because that's what our art form is supposed to do. And the state of grief where you're not acknowledging that you're in grief is the state that requires the artist to help you heal it.
Yes.
And
exactly.
I really felt your direction of this piece and the writing of the piece allowed the room for acknowledging I'm there, I was there, and I think I'm there now.
Yeah.
And will I be at the next step later if I allow myself? Because not allowing yourself creates the blockage, which the art form is helping us break through, or at least face the blockage exists. So
Right.
thank you, that was beautiful.
Thank you. And thank you to Javon for writing this piece.
Javon, writer, performer, please. If you can share with us. I think we have a audio issue with Javon. Not coming through, so we're
He's
gonna.
frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen a bit, so we're definitely gonna get back to Javon. I shared the link, and are we hearing you? It's a little bit of a distortion.
You may have to log.
Yeah,
can you refresh?
Okay, I think. Right. I mean, this is the informal portion, Javon. So if you feel to pick up that phone, everybody knows what this whole Zoom thing is all about now. So if you need to grab that and just get that to you, yeah. You're still coming in a little distorted. We're going to give you some time to get it together. We're going to ask our help and find out what the situation is. I have put a link in our chat, which I would love to tell everybody about. It's the NAP.
Better?
Yeah, a little. Yeah, we'll be sorting that out, and we just want to be very sensitive to this particular moment and the movement that is happening right now. And something that is coming up very strongly from this work this evening is centering mental health and mental health as revolution. You know, I say to a lot of my friends sometimes, in capitalist societies, we have very unhealthy relationship with work. We have unhealthy relationships with work because this is the machine that keeps us going, right? And it has its roots in the plantation system. So, you know, a little nap ministry I've been into for the last couple of days, strategies for rest, breathing, and healing. And you're all free to share your strategies as well. And I just want to mention that just because of what the topic that is here today. Don't feel any way if you can't breathe, because that's what the moment is. It's taking our breath away, our collective breaths away, and we're trying to fight against all of that. So we're definitely going to hear from Javon in a little bit, but I also want to go to The Good Cop. You know, I love an ironic title. And there we go. And a title that brings about just a nice visceral response. And when I saw the title, The Good Cop, I was just like, all right. And then what is that about? I love it. So I would love, our writer is here, Kristen, and our director, Nigel. And I definitely want to welcome them to share. And the wonderful actors that presented that piece are here with us as well. So let's start with our playwright.
Hi, thank you. So yes, I'm Kristen Cato. I wrote The Good Cop, and I'm currently in Bloomington, Indiana, the native land of the Kickapoo tribe. I'm originally from the Bronx, New York, Puerto Rican and Jamaican descent. And I wrote The Good Cop because back in 2016, there were 12 NYPD whistleblowers who came forward and sued the NYPD for illegal acts like, you know, the quota and stop and frisk and all these things that were illegal and that law enforcement was you know, perpetuating in the streets. And so I wrote The Good Cop because I saw these things resurfacing again, especially with COVID. I saw that the police officers up in the Bronx and Harlem and Brooklyn and Queens, all of the, you know, the outer boroughs of New York City where there's a lot of Latino and Black people, they were starting to enforce this again with the stop and frisk, and they even started giving out summonses to Black and Latino men who weren't wearing face masks.
Yeah.
And then going down into like Williamsburg and like all these white people in like circles in the park. And they were just giving them out, like they're giving out like Facebook, I mean, not Facebook, sorry, they were giving out face masks. And I'm like, wow, so they're really sending out summonses and they're just like, you know, stopping people in the subway for not wearing their masks and like, you know, giving them fines and arresting some of them too. And brutally arresting them too. Like I saw videos of like cops just like body slamming people on the ground, like in front of the bodega.
Yeah.
And I was just like, whoa, this is happening again, you know? And then like, I come from the Bronx where police brutality it's been a thing way before me, way before like my parents, during the time that my grandparents came, you know, this has been going on forever. And so when the NYPD 12 came forward, it was monumental. You know, it was a time where these 12 brave officers just, you know, they said enough is enough, and they wanted to change the system from within, because that's the only way to change this criminal justice system, really, is by the people who keep perpetuating it and those who keep it alive and keep it surviving. They're the ones who are going to be able to change it.
Yeah.
And so I always imagined what it would be like if there was a like Latina cop who was one of the whistleblowers, like what that would look like. Because I mean, all of the whistleblowers obviously were Black or Latino. Most of them were men. It was just one female Black officer. And so I always wondered, well, what happened to the like Latinos? First of all, I think some of them were Afro-Latinos too, but to me, I was just like, you know, there's so many Latina cops in New York City, so many. And so I always wondered, how come, you know, what happened to the Latina cop in the NYPD 12 case, you know? So then this is like my reimagining of what that looked like. And of course, although it happened in 2016, it's still very timely for all of us. For me, still, even not being in New York, I still feel the effects of New York, thanks to social media, I guess, and family and friends. But yeah, so I think I answered your question. But the ironic title, thank you for that. It's something I had in mind. So thank you for picking up on that, Carl.
Thank you for your work. Nigel, how was this directing this particular piece And Jovan is back. We're going to get to you. We're not forgetting you, Jovan. We're going to get back to you. And Nigel?
It was, I mean, first, it was wonderful working with Kristen, Kira, Christina, and Tanya. This was, I think I said in the first rehearsals, like this was something that I've been needing to get back into the rehearsal room in whatever form that may be. And I think there's a two-part answer for me in terms of like what's it like doing this in a time of COVID and in a time of repeated history in terms of police brutality. And I think there's a lot of fear right now about what theater is going to become because of COVID and what's going to end up happening. And I have really great feelings about what can evolve out of this time. I think in terms of the Restoration Theater and what came from that after a near like 18-year ban on theater. And I think right now a lot of companies and a lot of folks are reckoning with what theater is and what theater can be. And there's strong hopes of what needs to happen to push theater and propel theater forward. And so I'm very excited in the aspects of like, okay, right now, nothing is happening physically. Broadway is shut down, and maybe that is for the better, because right now, when things are broken, rather than try to fix the one squeaky wheel, why don't we just try to look at the entire thing and fix it from on that aspect, and bring in the actual people that need to fix it, bringing in the Black and brown and queer folk to fix something that they have been repeatedly kept out of for ages. And so I'm excited in that aspect that that theater right now is stopped because of COVID, but I'm excited for what is going to come out of it, and whether that means that the institutions who refuse to bring those Black and brown and queer and female voices into their spaces crumble and die off. Okay, great. Bye-bye. Because from those ashes, what will rise will be the theaters that will propel us into a better future. In terms of doing this piece specifically in a time where police brutality is once again running rampant and nearly highest than what we have faced, at least in the 21st century, I was really excited to take on this piece as someone who was going to protest. And there was one protest specifically that I went to, and there was about maybe 50 cops all spread out, keeping protesters onto the sidewalk. And out of 50 of those white officers, there was one Black officer who could not bring himself to look at the Black and brown folk that were protesting. And it made me wonder exactly what is happening in this piece. Is like, what happens as someone who has worked and operated in predominantly white spaces and has felt that my position or my life or my very well-being could be in danger by speaking up, wonders what happens to a lone Black person in a crowd of armed white men who are not just armed with guns and batons and tasers, but also armed with the law on their side. And so it made me really think of the amount of things that we're saying now. It's like that Black folk are not monoliths, and that we are not all the same, and that queer folk are not monoliths, and that nothing in this world is monolithic, that nothing exists as this is what we do repeatedly. And so I was really interested to explore this. I thought it was a really interesting look into things, and I don't think it excuses things. I don't think it excuses police brutality or Black and brown police officers who do stand by. I don't think it excuses that at all. But I do think it asks us to reckon with the thought of what happens to that Latina police officer who has to go home to her children and every night and asked to potentially put her life and her children's life on the line. And so I was really interested in that. And so I think a lot of that feeling was coupled and paired with what was going on with in rehearsals. So yeah, and I'm just thankful for the script and thank you for the opportunity to work on this. So yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. And since you center it on the cop, we're going to start with you, Tanya, who played the cop, and then we'll hear from the former friend, Christina, and talk about that dynamic.
What do you want to know?
How does it feel playing a good cop? I don't know. But how did you feel embodying those words that Kristen gave you?
Tanya Perez, she, her, hers. Right now, I am actually in Florida on Seminole land, but I pay rent to the Bronx. I'm in the South Bronx, and I live right around the corner from a precinct. And I have also, in another life, I was teaching cops and security for a good 10 years. So in a lot of ways, it was. I feel like in my normal life, I'm Anita, and but I'm always getting cast as the cop, and usually the cop is either a dirty, shady cop or just just straight up business cop. And what I loved about this piece, I love this piece so much. Thank you, Kristen, because it really brings in the personal. And I think it's very important, especially stories right now, addressing it, people who hear defund the police or, there's not all police are bad. It really brings in the nuance of what a cop has to negotiate. Because I do know these cops, on the in their plain clothes. And I've seen them, and they take these jobs because they think they're doing, they want to do service. And the amount of negotiation I know that they have to go through, just even in the training, it really takes you having to strip away your personal life and signing up and saying, this is what I want to do. And I think for Jade, it was really one of the things, hearing it from somebody who she has a long history with, that it brings up these questions in a way where she can go ahead and just put it aside. And for me as the actor jumping into that, I was like, every line was just, there's a layer and layer and layer and layer. And I think throughout the whole rehearsal process, I felt like I had a dream team, because the second I think about, becoming a cop, there are all my personal opinions. And as the actor, I have to strip away that to bring the human, to really make sense of what a world is, and how Jade can go from justifying putting away friends she knows and watching kids get murdered, to becoming a cop, to then really asking the question of herself, can she be the 12th person? So in a lot of ways, it was very gut-wrenching and also exhilarating as the actor.
Thank
This is
you
a great
for that,
piece.
for centering that humanity again. So let's hear from the friend, Christina. What's up with
Yeah.
Jade?
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Bailey.
Hi.
I played Anita. I'm in Los Angeles right now, Los Angeles, California. It's beautiful. But COVID is taking over out here, as you guys know. I really want to thank Kristen, Nigel, Tanya, Kira. This was an incredible experience. I had no idea what I was about to get into. Kristen hit me up and was like, hey girl, I got this role and it is you, okay? I'm always posting on my social media about everything that's happening right now. I'm very passionate about it. I have a blog that I've got a Spotify podcast that's coming out, and I'm Black, and I'm Anita. I'm a female Black woman, you know, in LA, and this role was me. You know, it was easy for me to read, memorize, hit notes, everything, because it is so true to who I am. I am that friend that pushes my friends. You know, I had some friends in Texas, some white friends, and they hit me up. They said, I posted on my social media, I was like, if you need to know what to do in this time, holla at your girl. And I had some friends in Texas, some white friends, hit me up and were like, what can we do? And we had a 2-hour-long conversation about what they could do in the racist part of Texas where they live. You know, so like I said, when she hit me up and was like, girl, I got this play. I'm like, is it a reading? What do you mean it's a play? Because I've been doing like so much TV. She's like, no, this is a play. You got to memorize and you got to come. But it was, and like, you know, me with my emotions too. Like, I'm like, okay, well, I stepped away from theater for a little bit to do TV. So I don't want to have me looking too, you know, it's on the Zoom, but it's a play, but is it too less or too much? You know what I mean? Like, you want me to go all the way there, but you want me to, but you know, so it was like that was a challenge for me to like bring it back up, because so often I hear for film and TV, tone it down, it's too much theater. So that was one of the challenges for me, but being Anita was not a challenge for me, because I am Anita.
Mm-hmm.
I am that friend,
Mm-hmm.
getting people together. People call me up, holla at your girl. That's why Kristen knew that she could cast me in this role. The last thing I'll say, I tag Kristen about every day with a new post. Did you see this? Did you see what this happened? Da, 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 da. She just, throughout the entire play, I text people and everybody knows I'm all for it. You know, I will say this last thing. I'm from New Jersey. I moved to LA about 5-6 years ago. And I grew up in a pretty diverse neighborhood. I grew up in Teaneck, New Jersey, very diverse, one of the first diverse neighborhoods, Blacks and Jews. My friends were all, you know, and then I went to school in New York and I had friends of all different races. And then I moved to Los Angeles and noticed how how the segregation in the neighborhoods, you know, there's Koreatown, there's this town, you know, there's all these different, and have experienced a lot more, you know, of these injustices, and have really become like the poster child for this, because this wasn't how I was always raised. Do you know, this wasn't what I always saw. Like seeing George Floyd and having a police officer put his knee in his neck and kill, that wasn't what I saw in Teaneck, New Jersey, when I went outside to play, you know. So I don't want people to think like, oh, well, she's Black, she knows what they do to Black people, you know. But to see it affected me as well, you know. It was an ignorance for me as well. And then to watch these videos and see Breonna Taylor, I mean, I say it in the play, I start Carlos Perez, you know, we know their first and last names, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd. I feel so passionate about it because I'm witnessing it as well, you know. And so passionate Anita is fired up.
Thank you so much for bringing, Thank you so much for bringing Anita
Thank you so much.
to us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
And
everyone.
Javon,
so much.
I want to bring you back in, especially as we're naming the names, and your piece not just named the names, but showed us the faces and really centered a lot of that hurt and pain. So please share with us any of your thoughts as writer and performer.
Well, first let's talk about. Well, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Good. All right. So first, let's talk about writing as a writer. So this is really an excerpt from a script that I'm writing. It's called The Miseducation of the Negroid Man. I took one little paragraph and I expanded. It was like almost as if my fingers had diarrhea. They were just going nonstop. And the final product was a total of 7 pages. It took me maybe 2 hours to write the whole thing, the whole 7 pages. It was very therapeutic, I will definitely say that, simply because, you know, everyone's on social media these days, but you go on social media and you keep seeing the same thing being replayed over and over and over again, except it's a different person, and not just a different person, but a different person of color, specifically a Black person. And to be honest, I got very tired of it. I never knew what to do. I never knew how to deal with it. And so I kind of took myself away from social media altogether, every last one of the medias that you could possibly think of. I took myself away from it because it was getting too much for me. I never knew how to release it. And so when I was approached by Carl to do something, I was like, you know what am I gonna do? Okay, I know exactly what I'm gonna do. And that's where everything started. The line where I say, where Justin said, we are tired of being hated and discriminated against. We are tired, you know, that whole thing, that's where it all started. It was a moment for me to actually talk about and try to do my part, because I never really went out to protest or do any of those things. And so I felt this was my time to do what I'm supposed to do as a Black man, which is to really help shed light upon, you know, the the apathy, you know, stuff like that, and racism and the injustice. However, Black Lives Matter was very much in my mind. And so with this piece, I really was trying to say, not just Black Lives Matter, but all Black Lives Matter, which was why I went ahead to have someone who is be represented from the LGBTQ community, and that, you know, have every Black life, every person from every section of the Black life experience be mentioned. It was after I wrote it, I can definitely say that I never looked at it again. After I gave it to Carl, I never looked at it again. And so I never read it or any of that thing, anything like that. I can definitely say that I was in a place where I'm just like, okay, I've done it and that's it. When it's time to look at the script itself, I was going to direct it myself. And then Carl was like, no, you got to have somebody else. And I was like, okay, cool. DJ came on board and he did a phenomenal job with it. Now I'm going to talk to you as the actor, Justin. So when DJ read the script, he had a bunch of different ideas, and all his ideas were ideas that were very similar to mine. He said that I want the character to be this way. And I said, oh, I was thinking along those lines. He said, I want the character to not be angry. I want him to be angry, but not be the angry Black man that people know Black people to be. And I said, that's exactly how I envisioned him. That's exactly how I wrote Justin. The name Justin came up simply because, you know, he's a Black kid who's being raised with white friends and so on and so forth. And in a white neighborhood, when you go towards a certain place, like you go for a job, if you have a certain type of name, immediately as a Black person, you are cast out. You're looked at with a side eye like, you know, stuff like that. And we never wanted that for Justin. we never wanted to have a Daquan or a Shaquille or, you know, stuff like that. We wanted to have a name that a white person would use for their child. During the whole rehearsal process, and I'm just going to try to be very quick. During the whole rehearsal process, I will definitely say that whenever I got to a certain point, I would always break down. That's where at that point, that's where I would always break down. Simply because when I sit here and I'm looking at the set, I reflect on me having a job interview. And this is a true story. I had a job interview and I went in and, you know, the interviewer, he was literally just there, you know, on his computer, and he would ask questions. And after I give the response, he would say, oh, yeah. So what do you think? And it was almost as if, okay, you're hearing me, but are you listening to what I have to say? Are you listening? Like in my mind, I'm thinking, did you even look at my resume? If I was white, would this be happening? You know? There was also another interviewer, a lady, she was sitting to my right, and she really downplayed everything that was ever on my resume. And I thought, this is really, really interesting. She was downplaying the arts when she made reference to it as, you know, that thing or whatever it is that you people do, verbatim. That's what she said. I thought about that, and I'm in this situation because Justin, he went in for this interview, and everything that he is saying to this interviewer is just being like, woof, just going straight over the head, and nothing is being registered. And I thought to myself, all this that is happening, that is in this play, this is me, especially when you talk about Elijah McClain. I cry when I learned about him, simply because I saw myself. This was a young man who, he has his own issues. He was going about his way. He's not in any drugs or any wrongdoing. And he was just murdered for no reason, and nothing came of that. Now I saw myself, that could have been me. I'm in Brooklyn. You know, there are moments when I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm just like, yo, you know what, let me go get something right quick to eat. And there are always cops at the corner of the street. So it's like, that could have been me, you know? And it brings me really, really sincere tears. It brings me tears to know that, hey, this is something that is happening and it keeps happening. It has been happening for almost 500 years, and it's nothing, there's nothing that's really being done about it. I think it's time that we are seen as people and not as things, which is why I loved it that DJ, he brought forth who was being fed with bananas as if she was a monkey. I think it's time that we are seen as people for what we have and what we can do, and be treated equally as everybody else, as anybody else. And yeah, that's all I will say to that, because I could be here all night and keep talking. Trust me on that.
Thanks.
So that's all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your sharing, Javon. And I want to just thank everyone for the vulnerability, for the dedication, for just being here. Magali is the reason Kumu Kahua and Brata Productions are a part of Conch Shell, and we have now we have Reset.
We're part of Reset, not Conch Shell. You're all part, you know.
Reset, yeah. So we are here, and it may seem like a lofty thing to want to start a reset in America, but what is the point of being in the arts? What is the point of us as artists if we're not here to make the change? And we know that they're afraid of us. We know that art is power. This is why they leave us out of STEM all the time. But we know we need the STEAM, baby. We need that A to create all the change in the world. We need the arts needs us. We have to make the change, to make the reset. So thank you all for being here. Please follow Kumu Kahua Theater, Conch Shell Productions, Brata Productions. donate, spread the word. We are here again next Friday at 8 p.m. We'll keep being here until July. And of course, what's up for August? We're going to put that in your hands, because we know that once we've done all this great work, it's going to inspire all of you, all the people that are sitting here in these squares, looking at me as well, these wonderful people. Please give them all a round of applause. Give yourselves a round of applause. Unmute your mics. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
us next week, people.
Thank
next
you,
Friday.
Harry.
Reset.
Thank you,
everyone.
Donna. Thank you.
Guys.
Thank you. You guys
Thank
are
you.
amazing.
Thank you so much.
Good job.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you for answering the call, man. Thank you.
Thank you.